A Broken Machine, Part 8. The Quorum of Earth sat silently for a moment, waiting for the others to signal that they had some conversation analysis. Senior Comms was first. Voice recognition checks out. Same with the ship ID. I don't know what they are now, but they used to be ours. Intel was next. Confirmed. Content is typical of Envoy Inkman's speech patterns, and his iris hasn't changed much. It's a different color and material, but it still has the same pattern as is shown in his records. I don't know how good a Xeno would have to be at counter-intel to fake that, but I'll take those odds. We have no official opinion on the ship. I'll leave that to Fleet, but if he's leaving us a cache of info and tech, anything like they are using, I want us to be there. The obscured face paused. In fact, we need to bring an army. If it's real, then I want it, and if it's not, then people are going to think we are lying about whatever we do find and that we stole the good stuff. There are going to be a lot of bad decisions made quickly, and we are going to need big sticks and sharp teeth. Unknown to any but the director of the Quorum of Earth, those were the code words that basically told him that Earth now needed to be on a total war footing, including against the colonies. It had never been uttered outside of an exercise before, and it chilled him to hear them slipped into the conversation. Fleet was the sharp teeth, and he didn't have long to wait. I agree with Intel. I'm moving everything to combat readiness now. Now all we need is those big sticks. She made it sound like a joke, but it wasn't. It was the armories of Earth, that wellspring of the worst in human ingenuity, and it was heavily guarded by an army of silent men that passed through history without names or recognition that would ever mean anything to anything outside of a chosen few. It was the very gates of hell, and he held the keys. He muted all but Fleet and Intel and gave his personal code. Very well. I will let loose the dogs of war. All your requests will be met. The current inventory is now available to you. He leaned back, now appearing much older. May the fortunes of war follow you. The three of them looked at each other, all aware of what they had just done. Fleet spoke first. And you, sir. Keep home safe for my boys. We'll make you proud. The director raised a smile. Don't worry, I'll make sure it's still here for you. And I'm already proud. Fair sailing, Commander. Intel cut the filter that obscured his face, unwilling to be nameless after the decisions now made. We will be your eyes in this. We are as ready as the human race can ever be. Good luck to all of us. As they had practiced so many times before, they all immediately switched over their immediate responsibilities to their quorums and began to make plans based on what they knew of the enemy and what they suspected of their friends. Intel and analysis washed over them and onto their subordinates, those still living in a more innocent time. The Wisp avatar seemed curious. What do you think they are doing? Silver was still staring down the corridor. Oh, they are preparing to go to war in the finest traditions of the human race. That seemed to slow down the Wisp. But the fight is over. We are no longer attacking the planet. I do not understand. He dragged his face around and looked at the facsimile of a human that faced him. That's because you don't know us. Right now, every man, woman, and child is being called to war. Every sharp blade is being drawn. Every resource is now aimed in one direction. What you used to be before you became the Wisp and before we joined has raised mankind against an external threat, and no words will now prevent it from happening. I was a diplomat and can now tell you that we have become a useful reason and interesting footnote. The logic of war, the beat of this drum that doesn't end until someone dies. Wisp seemed to smile as if some internal logic had been confirmed. You are all predators. Silver didn't smile. Yes, and today your people are the prey of the entire human race, and I don't envy you. The steel that he was now wearing finally seemed to suit his voice. He seemed to stand up straighter. He looked at the avatar. Did you get that gun for me? It seems I get to take the first shot in this war. He began walking down the corridor, his mind locked down to the small thoughts that he knew he needed to get him past this. The gun was heavier than he remembered. The avatar stood quietly for a moment and then melted into the wall. This was between the two minds, and she only had business with the winner. Silver stepped into what looked like another glimmering room, save for one thing. The stain of a steel throne was almost an insult to the gold that surrounded him. He stopped. Wisp, I can do this without all the fucking propaganda. Stay out of my head until I call you. The room became much more cluttered. Various piles of machinery were tucked into the corners, and the throne was a simple seat in front of a console. The place reeked of neglect and cattle dung. It was a smell that brought him back to his childhood. The smell of a farmer that his father had beaten to a pulp for something never discussed. He remembered in some childish way that the farm was off limits until the police had finished. He just remembered the blood and the smell and the confusion as his father had struck the man down. Memory is a strange beast, and his adult self could read the situation easily. His sympathy was always with the prey, subject to the whims of those that held their lives in a careless hand. Not this time. He stared at the broken thing, a creature now long past its time and longing for an end. So you are the monster, the one that chose to burn worlds. A rasping voice came from the console. You are a predator. They have led you to me, to the final slaughter as they led all my kind. Silver could make out little more from the doorway and approached closer. On the seat were the remnants of a body, the scattered bones having fallen from the chair. Only the head remained, wired to the ship and held in place by rivets. The deer's eyes darted around the room, forever searching for an escape. Silver raised the gun. Well, the sins of your captors were not the sins of my people. Did you think your cruelty would not be repaid? That the offenses against you justify a murderous rampage across the galaxy? That your fear paid for your guilt? Because it doesn't. Fuck you. The eyes of his prey focused on the threat. You have taken it all from me. Do you think I have bled the galaxy? What will you do, killer for food? I give you the millennia as space and time twist your mind. I give you to the predator that hunts me. May you find joy in the battle, in the death that follows you on your breath. I can taste the dead you ate, wretched thing. Go, pack hunter, and raise your people as a fire against the galaxy. You think it will be my fear that has killed the most at the end? It took a single shot to set the head on fire. He waited until the hollow skull had joined the broken bones on the floor and called Wisp. Clean all that shit up. Throw it from the ship, throw it into the sun. It can burn as the planet did. Integration is now at 100%. New directives pending. The director of the Quorum of Earth was debating how his resignation would happen. It was a certainty that it would be required. It was just the mechanics that interested him. Some efforts were easily prevented by the dull trickle of power, position, or money that he was allowed to divert. Others were going to be against the war. Any war, really. They had the attention span of a hamster and the morals of an alley cat in heat. They would switch sides once the casualties began. Then the virtuous multitude, the good guys. They just annoyed him, and it was only a matter of time that one of them suggested that they made planets less flammable. He was interrupted by the Director for Human Diplomacy. The man was large by modern standards, a thing he put it down to eating too many diplomatic chickens. It was a fact that chicken was the staple food of diplomats. Beef and pork were religious, fish was political because of its tendency to ignore borders, and vegan was a snub to some, virtue signaling to others. No one cared how many chickens you ate. Hello, Director of the World, Lord of all you survey, Center of all human thought. The Director sighed. Shut up, Fred. What makes you interrupt my maudlin magnificence at this hour? Also, how did you get past security? The man sat down carefully. Well, you set my world on fire. If one more person tells me about big sticks and sharp teeth again, I will hit them with something heavy. Or find someone to do it for me at least. As to your security, well, I'm the best diplomat you've got. Talking my way into places I'm not supposed to be is my entire life's purpose. He ruffled through his jacket and produced 2 glasses and a flask. He set them on the desk and poured them in silence. A toast to our health, assuming we have any left. Talk to me. How bad is this going to get? The Director of Earth picked up the glass and sniffed deeply. Well, that depends. The enemy that set that world on fire now works for us apparently and is turning to fight the oncoming storm. He looked over his glass, a slight bit of humor returning. One of yours, I believe. I didn't know you lot were so persuasive. However, as I'm sure you know that he intends to drop a lot of tech on us before he goes to battle, and has turned this into an arms race. We are tracking his ship, but it's 30 systems away and accelerating, in full view of everybody. Frankly, he's about managed to cause a civil war before we even gear up against the bad guys. The diplomat drew in the whiskey carefully. Silver Inkman. He's young, but I tend to send him to start fights because he's very, very good at ending them. I'm glad it was him. I expect some surprises. I'll keep the mob from your door. Concentrate on fleet and intel and let me look after our friendly allies. They both needed to drink on that one. A Broken Machine, Part 9. What did you mean by 100% integration? Silver asked the empty air. The wisp reappeared, sliding from the wall like a ghost. It means exactly that. You are just talking to voices in your head. I am a conduit for the social parameters you have established. You are a social species and might fall into depression and isolation if you perceived yourself to be alone. This is the remedy your mind has chosen. Silver nodded. Thanks for the pop psychology, but I meant what does it mean in terms of the ship? Can I change its shape? Can I do what you do and just melt into the walls? The wisp seemed to think about it, but in reality it was combing its old records and forgotten protocols. Yes, at this level of integration, the ship will mold itself to your designs. We have not used this feature for many thousands of years. Allow me a little time to ensure all elements of the ship are updated before you attempt it. As to melting into the wall, of course. Your subconscious prefers your current shape, but you are sufficiently disciplined to overcome that. Are you planning to do so? Silver smiled slightly. I'm planning to have options if something is coming to kill me. The Founder's ship was a vast and different thing. It had surrounded itself with a wall of barbed missiles, and its weapons were darkened spikes on a hardened hull. This was a ship that screamed spite and death. The Wisp was but a sphere of awkward metal, a child's toy in the face of a murderous predator. Its mind laughed out loud when it turned to face him, his eternal chase finally coming to an end. He crushed the voices that whined that he was forbidden from attacking a fellow Founder ship. He had thought of that centuries ago. According to the rules of engagement, he had a clear path. He would hang the head of his prey on the bow of his ship and burn down whatever petty world it was trying to defend. Silver took a crash course in the history of this oncoming storm. All he could find out is that when the original Founder had died or given up, the ship had searched for a new mind. It had abducted some spacefaring pirate, a creature that had begun to warp the ship to its own ideology and greed. It had chased the Wisp and stolen whatever it wanted along the way. It had no interest in growth, no interest in the original mission. It existed only to satisfy its own nature. He reckoned that time had driven the creature mad and that it probably hadn't been a long walk anyway. Pirate, thief, and mass murderer. Charming, and about to try and kill the human race. He needed to make a call. The Quorum of Earth didn't always mean everyone. You could go if you insisted, but the concept of stay in your lane was pretty widespread. If an admiral wanted to attend the Quorum of Water Resources, sure. Pull up a seat and listen as the experts discussed plankton distribution along the Gulf Stream. You even get to vote in a weighed and deliberate manner, obviously. Just don't expect anyone to value your contribution. The weighing was the key since you walked into that room with a number. Your colleagues would value your previous work, your recent contributions, and your social skills. If they didn't know you, if you had no demonstrated expertise, then you got a minus score across the board. Still, some people were always happy to meet an admiral, even one that was in the wrong room. Humanity had had enough of ignorance and the loudest voice in the room taking them places that no one wanted to go. That was why it was so surprising when practically every quorum wanted to attend this briefing. The list of water, energy, sanitation, agriculture, education, it just kept going. The director of the Earth Quorum sat back and looked at his chief of diplomacy. Fred, well, here comes the shitstorm. I'm going to be taking all these people to war. He picked up his glass. And here's the killer. I don't know if we will win. Fred raised his glass. Boss, only an idiot starts a war they don't think they can win. Unfortunately, it only takes one idiot and we have never been short of them. Looks like the Xenos are the same. They told us they were coming, they burned a nearly empty colony, and we somehow took control of their weapons. I think we can afford the blood and treasure for this. He took a deep drink and put down the glass. It's not my blood or treasure, though. Spend it carefully, director of all you survey. When we both get fired, I'm buying. Go to war and win. I'll guard your back. He was about to leave when his comms lit up like a Christmas tree. It was his envoy. He looked across the desk and grimaced. Well, that ruined my exit. You're going to want to be in on this. It's Silver. Silver was sufficiently beyond surprise not to react when his call was answered by the Quorum of Earth director as well as his boss. His boss's boss, so far up the food chain that they had never met. The two grim faces seemed to be waiting until the director spoke. You director speaks highly of you. I'm not sure why, since you have dragged me into 2 wars, but he assures me that was probably accidental. What new disaster are you bringing to me? Silver hesitated at that one. 2 wars. Is someone else out there? His boss shook his head. No. You just announced that you had left a big pile of earth-shattering tech sitting in space for anyone to take. What does your training, of which I'm quite proud, tell you will happen next? Silver stopped for a moment and played it out quickly. Oh, sorry, I was being turned into a machine at the time, just after being dead and on fire. I missed that one. The director of Earth sniffed. Well, understandable, I suppose. Don't let it happen again. I'll squash all the idiots that think this is a race, but frankly, I'm guessing that's not why you called. No, I'm heading to battle against the next threat. I'm sending you the details, but, sirs, this thing is a psychopath with more weapons than Earth itself. It's twice my size and armed to the teeth. I have a plan, but you need to stop it if I can't. This creature will rejoice in our deaths. It cares for nothing but itself. The tech I gave you needs to go to everyone. Teach it to the children, because if I lose, they are going to need to run. It's that bad. The director of Earth sighed and looked across the light years. Son, it's always that bad. We have plans you wouldn't believe, capacities you have never heard of, allies beyond anything you know of. War is hell and we are the demons. Fight for us if you can and die for us if you must. You are humanity today, a new form, a new transformation that we will carry to a shared future. Be the best that we can be. Tell us what you know. Fred poured out another glass for himself. Sometimes I forget how you got to be here. Cheers. This time he saluted. Go and tell the others something like that, Commander-in-Chief. I'm proud to serve. The director nodded, acknowledging the ancient title that was often forgotten, and began the meeting with the assembled quorums even as his intel broke down the flood of information that was now coming in from Silverwisp. Earth to Silverwisp. Earth to Silverwisp. We have information. Acknowledge. Shit, it's not picking up. Silverwisp. 50 microns. What you sent us. 50 microns. Fuck, I hope you pick this up. Silver ended the call with a new feeling of himself. He was no starstruck teenager, but to be recognized as human, to be treated as important by the man about to lead mankind into the war did make a difference. It resolved some nagging fears, and some of the confusion that he had pushed behind strong walls dissipated. He concentrated on figuring out if his plan had a chance when a little whisper, a voice that had crossed light years to reach him from home, gave him a number that might work. He summoned Wisp's avatar. I need you to check these calculations. Then I need you to make it happen. If anything doesn't fit, throw it into space. We might come back for it, but let's worry about that later. I want to go into battle with this ready. And I mean ready the moment he starts firing those things at us. I want to do this. Put it up on screen and talk me through it. The avatar paused. As you wish. Is this necessary? Integration is complete. Silver smiled. I hope so. I just need another set of eyes and another voice right now. You should look up the rubber duck technique. All right, this is what I think will happen. The founder ship moved towards its prey. Its mind was still rejoicing in the strange stupidity of prey that had outrun it for 1,000 years, turning towards a final desperate confrontation. His ship tried to whisper in his head, but he crushed the noise. It had learned to avoid his wrath centuries ago. Now he ordered the missiles sharpened, the targeting perfected and rehearsed. He had followed this hound for millennia and would bring it to heel, perhaps even train it to obey him on the hunt. He shouted at the ship, "Get all weapons prepared. Test them, sharpen them, and be ready to use them."